Hello again, my name is Budget Scale Modeling and I build it so you don't have to. In this video, I'm continuing to atone for my scale modeling sins by rebuilding the Italian battleship Roma from Trumpeter for a fun, quick, and easy project. Like before, I'll be pairing it with a Flyhawk photo etch set, but this one is much nicer to work with and much more detailed. There must have been a gas leak at Flyhawk headquarters when they put together the instructions for that last one. Regardless, as a self-proclaimed Italian battleship fan, I was very excited to start this kit. Also, one of my viewers has helpfully informed me that this odd piece of red plastic is, in fact, a knife for cutting open the packaging on the screws. Very helpful, thanks, I'll put it to good use. The first thing I did was glue the two halves of the hull together. Now, before I stick anything else on here, I'm going to throw on some panel lines with the help of my brand new Tamiya light gray primer, so I lay down some masking tape and horizontal strips on the lower hull. I'm not going to touch the upper hull since it already has some nice molded details. Like with last time, use a few small pieces of masking tape to make sure the spacing between the strips is consistent. I don't know how much use I can get out of this fun-sized can, so I'll just apply one layer. Now I kinda regret getting a primer that's the same color as the plastic. Oh well, guess I'm stuck with that. Time to install the decks. The rear deck is where the ship's float plane catapult will be located. It's very common for ships in this era to have at least one float plane for long-range scouting. You may notice the forecastle deck has a prominent upward curve. This is an intentional feature to improve the ship's seakeeping abilities, and you will see it on a lot of contemporary battleships. Next up, the ship has 3 rudders, a large one along the keel and 2 smaller ones flanking it. Most other ships have 1 or 2 rudders, so this is a unique feature of the Littorio class, which the Roma is the final ship of. Another unique feature is the use of all these single turrets. There are about a dozen in total, and I need to install the barbettes for each one. Is this space efficient? No. Is it effective? Probably not. Does it look cool? Maybe. It's definitely unique though. Finally are the ship's 4 propeller shafts and propellers, as well as all of these bits on the decks. A machine gun nest is affixed to the barbette of the number 2 main turret, and several paravanes are placed on these tracks. These torpedo bomb looking doohickeys, as some of you may know them, are called paravanes. They're warheads on tow cables that are dragged behind a ship and are used to clear minefields or take out submarines. Now we get to the photo etch. Am I going to scrape down the plastic bits and replace them with the photo etch parts?
No.
First, I'm going to install the railings. Somehow, I didn't destroy any of them, so I'm very proud of myself for that. Now it's time to festoon the deck with more brass. Some parts I deliberately left off knowing they'd be replaced in this phase, like these retrieval cranes and these stairs down to the aft deck. I'll leave the catapult and cranes for last since they're complex and fragile, but also because I'm feeling mighty exhausted right now. Okay, the fun's over, time to build the guns. As per tradition, I begin with the main guns, 3 turrets housing triple 381mm guns. Funnily enough, according to my research, these guns actually have a higher muzzle velocity than the 460mm guns on the Yamato. Just goes to show that size isn't everything. Trumpeter gives you 2 options, with or without the canvas blast bags. Personally, I always choose the former, but for those who choose the latter, I gotta know, which color crayon tastes the best? All 3 turrets need holes drilled into them to mount life rafts and for these AA gun nests. I'll add the AA guns during the final assembly because they look like a pain in the ass. Anyway, forces beyond my understanding compelled me to cut off the plastic barrels and affix these nice lathed brass ones from the kit. The number 2 turret went perfectly, but the number 3 turret just sort of exploded. The glue wasn't solidified, so I tore apart the blast bags, then I broke the face of the turret while trying to remove them. Then I coated my rotary tool bit in molten plastic. After replacing the barrels with the spare ones the kit provided, I decided not to try that again. The number 1 turret fared much better. There isn't much in the way of photo etch, which is nice given how much crap usually goes onto the turrets. Now for the secondaries. First off are 4 more triple turrets, this time housing 6-inch guns. They also need holes drilled in them for life rafts and AA gun nests. There isn't much photo etch here either. Next are the dozen 90mm dual-purpose guns, all housed in single turrets on the flank of the ship, also called the wings for some reason. Then there are 4 shielded 120mm guns, which also go on the flanks. Let's see what the photo etch looks like for these. Are you kidding me? No, I'm saving my effort for this. I will attempt to build all of these tiny little AA guns.
2,000 years later.
That was awful. I had to bust out the magnifying glass, and for some reason, the light flash bangs my camera, so my footage was completely unwatchable. Here are the results, though. If you need me, I'll be curled up in a dark room contemplating the life choices that led me here. I also ruined the last ones because they had too many small parts for me to not destroy. Whatever, I'll just use the leftover resin ones I have. Now for the superstructure. I'll be starting out with the bridge as it's the most complex. It took me almost 3 hours to build. I won't go over every component as otherwise we'll be here until the heat death of the universe. Instead, I'll sum it up as lots of platforms, railings, and boxes with a few big pieces here and there. Time to move on to the other pieces, which in total took about 3 hours as well. This will consist of the main mast, the 2 exhaust funnels, these side AA gun platforms, and this middle platform which I forgot about multiple times and lost once. There wasn't much worth mentioning here. The installation of the forward mast requires me to thread it through several parts because it tapers outward toward the bottom. For some reason, I thought it would be a great idea to affix all of the sub-assemblies to the upper deck, oblivious to the fact that I had just made the job of painting 10 times more difficult. After that, it's time for a whole regatta's worth of rowboats and cutters. I'm not swapping out the plastic bits because it makes no difference to me, and because they aren't very important parts anyways. Alright, this platform thingy that goes between the funnels. I'll leave it off so it doesn't get in the way of painting. I sure hope I don't lose it. After blasting the totality of my work, minus the platform of course, with a coat of gray primer, I begin the arduous task of painting. I will be using a few colorized historical photos of the real ship as references, but I'll also be taking a few creative liberties because it's my model ship and I'll paint it however I please. The biggest change I'll make is to reduce the area covered by these red and white aircraft recognition stripes. I first paint the boot stripe and cover it with a strip of 2mm masking tape before blasting the main deck with Tamiya's sea blue. I naively assumed that the Tamiya paint would stick better to the Tamiya primer. What a fool I was. But for now, I need to mask off my hard work and begin painting everything else. The paint guide provided with the kit displeases me, so I destroyed it, like I destroyed that minivan that was parked too close to my driveway. I first blasted the aft deck with tan, then I assailed the forecastle with the last of my bright red before shoddily covering up my work and demolishing it with some white. Afterwards, it's the hull's turn, so I coat it in a shade of green that I'd like to call vegetable smoothie. Just like its namesake, I doubt the stuff tastes good and will thus avoid eating it. I then tape off my hard work and hit the upper hull with dark gray, which will serve as the base for my two-tone Mediterranean camo. The second tone is light gray, which I carpet bomb the ship with after I've taped off some sections of dark gray. We'll just ignore for now that I sprayed the rudder. Now it's time to undress the hull and see the results of my hard work. Not bad, except my tweezers scraped off a ton of paint, which I'll have to address. Onto the superstructure and main turrets, which receive the same two-tone geometric camouflage as the hull. These actually turned out much better than I had hoped for, and I think this ship is my magnum opus. Time for the hand painting. In no particular order, I must paint the roofs of the main turrets, the camo pattern on the secondary batteries, the life rafts on the turrets. I'll paint these tan because the bright orange most people use for them looks ridiculous, in my opinion. The rowboats and cutters, the upper decks, the blast bags on the main guns, as it creates a nice visual distinction between the gun house and the barrel, The part that people usually call the turret is actually referred to as the gun house. And of course, who could forget? All of the paint I scraped off with my tweezers and this gray that bled through the masking tape on the rear deck. Alright, I'm tired now. Let's just fast forward to the end. I've already got 22 hours of footage and I don't feel like editing any more than I absolutely need to. Roma was the third ship in the Italian Littorio class of battleships. Her sister ships were the Littorio, of course, and the Vittorio Veneto, named after the city of Vittorio Veneto. A fourth ship, named the Impero, was never completed, its hull ending up in German hands after Italy's capitulation in 1943 and its subsequent invasion by its former ally. The name Littorio comes from ancient Rome because Mussolini saw himself as a Roman emperor and wanted Italy to be a serious player on the world stage with overseas territories and a powerful navy. Anyway, Littorio is derived from lictor, which is a Roman term to describe the hired muscle/executioners employed by Roman politicians. The tool they used, this axe wrapped in a bundle of rods, was called the fasces, and it became a symbol of the state's authority to take life and limb. For that reason, World War I veteran and journalist Benito Mussolini chose this instrument as the symbol of his new political party and derived from its name the Fascista Party, which would govern Italy until its dissolution in 1943. Roma was laid down in September of 1938 and launched in 1940. Unlike her sisters, though, she took 2 more years to be commissioned into the Regia Marina, or the Italian Royal Navy, as yes, Italy still had a monarch at the time. Roma was named after the city of Rome, and she was built to a slightly different configuration than the previous 2 ships, having an increased AA defense, a raised forecastle, and a slightly altered superstructure. Due to a shortage of fuel, Roma would remain in port for much of her lifetime. It was also decided not to send her out to sea without air cover, which might be one of the only smart decisions the Italian armed forces made during World War II. While in port, Roma served as a floating AA platform. During this brief time, she suffered damage from several Allied bombing raids against the port city of La Spezia, where she was moored. Come September 1943, Roma became the flagship of Admiral Carlo Bergamini, and along with the other 2 Littorios and a fleet of other ships, were to be sent to repel Allied ships attempting to seize the port city of Salerno. However, due to Italy's capitulation on the 8th, the fleet's orders were changed and they were now scheduled to sail to Sardinia and then to Malta. When the Germans heard this news, they understandably did not want the 3 battleships in Allied hands, and so dispatched a group of 11 land-based bombers, Dornio Do-217s to be specific, to attack the convoy. This was also an excellent chance for Germany to test its newest weapon, the Fritz X radio-controlled glide bomb, which was used to terrifying effect here. The first bomb hit the water near the cruiser Ingenio de Savoia, and the second bomb grazed the Italia, née Littorio. The third and fourth bombs hit their mark, however, striking Roma first amidships, crippling her by flooding several machinery spaces and starting fires in her stern. As she limped along after losing half her engine power, the second bomb struck home in the forward engine room, igniting the No. 2 magazine and blowing the turret into the air. As she slipped beneath the waves, she split in half and carried anywhere from 1,200 to over 1,300 sailors down with her, including Admiral Bergamini. The pride and joy of the Italian Navy had, in a matter of minutes, become just another victim to the relentless progression of technology.